Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is the 450 Roundtable following the fourth round of the 2021 Monster Energy Supercross Championship from Indy. It was a great night of racing, and we have some riders on that we'd like to talk to about their night. Adam Enticknap, Zach Osborne, and Joey Savacci, welcome to the Roundtable. Adam, let's start with you. Man, the LCQs are brutal, right? There's just so many good riders on there. It's a quick race. It can be pretty violent at times. Just tell me how important it was for you to get up in that heat race, get into that position. Some things happen around you, but just getting into that heat race, is that just like the biggest stress relief ever?
I mean, yeah, the LCQ sucks. It's just, that's like the way it goes. I feel like every time I line up for the LCQ, it's kind of like rolling the dice, because you have to get a good start. A few things have to play in your favor, and you got to kind of stay out of the carnage. And, it's crazy because everybody's so close in times now. It was just such an eye-opener for me. When I got that third place start, I was like, let's go race, baby. And I was in about fifth place position, and it almost surprised me a little bit how fast I actually was to kind of battle with those guys and be there. And before the season, I've been training really hard, and we made a few bike changes for the Twisted Tea Suzuki team, and I think it just really made a huge difference this year. And I'm glad, at the first round, it was a relief making that main event, and I think that was huge for me. I had a couple mistakes that kind of kept me out of the main the next two, but I think it was really really eye-opening, and I was happy to show my potential at the first round at Indianapolis, because I've been getting a lot faster. The bike's been getting a lot better. My fitness is the best it's ever been, and I think that was just a glimpse of what's to come. I was really upset on how I rode in the main. I had some pretty big mistakes, but it was really good to be able to ride like I did, and just I knew I had it in me. I felt the speed coming into this season, training with Brandon Hartraft and Max Anstie. I felt like I had that. I could see it every day, and just learning and learning more, and it was cool to be able to go in that heat race and get a good start, and then just ride with the boys. By all means, it wasn't given to me. I took it, and I felt like I rode solid, and I felt like, when you watch it on TV, I belonged where I was at, and that was a good feeling and something to build confidence on.
Yeah, congratulations. That was a great ride, and to your point, it wasn't just like you got in somehow. I mean, I was watching you lap after lap. You were shredding, and you were battling those guys. I have to imagine that felt good. Moving on to Zach Osborne. Zach, if you were to not watch the first four races and just look at the results sheet, you'd be going like, man, what's going on with Zach? But I think as well as I do, like, the riding has been there. You've been on the gas, but just constantly been in these like little issues, these problems. Are you frustrated or encouraged by the way you're riding? Again, because I think the results are not matching what you can do. Is it frustration or encouragement?
A bit of both. I mean, after last night, probably more encouraged than frustrated, even though I made like a beginner move on the start. It is what it is. I mean, I have to take it and live with it. So I would say at this point, I'm more encouraged. I've never had like daytime speed like I have right now, and been able to kind of slice through guys like I was last night. But at the same time, I guess I was kind of fighting the negative momentum ball after the press day thing at Houston 1. So last night was a huge step in the right direction as far as the result on paper went. It would have been really nice to get those two guys right at the end for a podium. But to get stuck in the gate and get a fifth was pretty solid.
Joey, same kind of question as Zach. The results really haven't been there, but the riding has been there. I've watched you, and you've looked pretty good, but you haven't really got a chance to be up front. Last night, it seemed like you finally got up front with that lead pack. You started looking like you did your rookie year when you were up front battling with those guys. Was it just a start that was needed? Has something changed from Houston to Indy? Because to me, visually, it looked like there was a big leap on Saturday here in Indy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a start goes a long way. And we got one this weekend by pure luck. Zach kind of helped me out there a little bit. But I mean, sometimes, it's just better to be lucky than good. And, man, my starts were better. I got a better start in the heat race. my practice starts during the time practices were better. I just been struggling with my starts, which is not normal for me. But with this bike, it's just different than how that Cowie and the Suzuki was. So it's just been something that I've had to adapt to, and I'm trying to figure out on the fly, and obviously not a lot of experience or seat time with the bike. So trying to figure it out as I go, but a start definitely helped a lot. And honestly, didn't ride terrible for the first probably 14 minutes or so. And then the last probably 5-6 minutes, I tightened up. I was probably losing about a second a lap in the whoops. I think everyone who passed me got me in the whoops. So I was doubling through them. Like, I don't want to talk about it. I've beat it. I've talked about it so many times this morning. I beat a dead horse. So I already know where I could be better. And I think for me, like, it was just getting a good start this weekend and just reminding yourself that you still have, you can still be up there. And it's been a while since I've been up there. So it was kind of a lot to take in, but that start went a long way.
Yeah, the start helps for sure. Puts you in a different group up there in the front. Any bike changes or anything that you're able to do in between Houston and Indy? Because again, just even the way you rode, you looked more aggressive to me here in Indy than you did in Houston. Is that just a comfort thing, or did you find something?
A little bit of both. We messed with some things during the week at home, and also just a confidence thing. I got to go home, and I'm not normally one that does well with limited riding time. So the whole going into the first round, not really knowing what to expect, getting bad starts, and then obviously the crash at the second round, and then the third round kind of having some nagging injuries. To be able to go home and just get a good week of riding in was, I think, was the most important thing for me. So I think combination, we figured some things out with the bike as well as the starts. And then obviously with myself, I just went home and worked on pure speed stuff because, like everyone has said, everyone is pretty close on the time qualifying, and it's just a matter of executing in the race. And, we just got to get better as far as racecraft and race lines and figuring it out. But, I think last night was a step in the right direction.
All right, let's open it up. Michael Antonovich, Swap Moto Live. We'll start with you.
Well, thanks, Daniel. Joey, to embellish more on that start, that wasn't just like a good start. That was a phenomenal start because you were bike lengths ahead of everybody halfway down the straightaway.
It's okay. Whole shot doesn't matter.
Well, but like going off of what Daniel said, though, you haven't had a lot of time on Supercross lately. The last time you did it was, the usual rotation. How have these Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday races been, especially with the few injuries that you've picked up and the one that you're kind of cautious of all the time?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think this week's Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday will be a little bit more enjoyable than the first one, just because kind of building blocks. I marked off some things on my checklist that I wanted to do as far as from the foundation standpoint. I think my starts are better, which is huge, and I think I need to keep focused on that and make sure that I keep executing and putting myself in good spots. I think that's what I did so well my rookie year, was just getting good starts and putting myself in a position to have a chance to run up front. And, if somebody makes a mistake, to be there to capitalize on the mistake. And I wasn't able to do that the first 3 rounds. So as far as how do I feel about it now, I mean, I'm pretty excited that we get to go racing again Tuesday, as I'm sure a few guys are that, made some mistakes early in the race. And that is the nice part about racing, is often or 3 times a week. Like if you had a bad night or a night that went okay but could have gone a lot better, you have a chance to turn around and do it again in 3 days. So I'm excited. It's definitely different, but I think everyone's in the same boat, so we just got to figure it out.
Cool. Thanks, dude. My second question is for Adam Inticknap. Adam, you and Weston Pike have always been pretty close, and now you've made the similar steps in progression that Weston did back in the day, where you were privateer guy on the cusp of a main event and then better and better and better, and now you're a main event guy legit all the time. How has that felt, and have you talked to him lately about the steps that you've made?
It's funny you said that, because I actually changed up my whole training program this year because of Weston. We're both built pretty close to the same. And he actually gave me a lot of insight of what he was doing when he was getting podiums, on that JGR Yamaha. And I think that's helped me out a lot this year. I was just doing some things wrong where I kind of was, second guessing, my training program. I haven't had any like top notch trainers. I've kind of done it on my own. I had one trainer, Taylor Selby, that helped me out a lot, but I just changed my training program up to cater it a little bit more towards what Weston was doing when he was doing good like that. And I talked to Weston. He's always kind of rooting for me. He's always in my corner. He's a little bit of a hard ass. So sometimes, if I do something bad or whatever that might be, he'll call me out on it. But, I think him and I are kind of built that way. You need a little bit of tough love sometimes. But yeah, changing that training program, I think really helped because, just like Joey said, everybody's so close in times, the racecraft and being aggressive in the races is what's going to make the biggest difference right now, because being so close in times, by getting that third place start in the heat, it was kind of like I was up there. And, I think I was only like half a second to maybe 3/4 of a second off of 12, somewhere around there. And it's like, if you're in fifth and I just run my laps right, ninth place isn't even going to come close to catching me by the end. It's just crazy how everybody's so close, and you got to be smart, and you got to be aggressive, and you got to be fit right now. And I think that's the key for me.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Dark Side MotoX Pod, but before you ask your question, I got one for you. Did you really do what I think you did? Did you cut the pony off?
Most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was a joke or not. I just needed to know. But go ahead with your question.
Donated to Wigs for Kids, man. I do it every couple of years.
I love it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go Zacho first. Zach, man, Joey touched on the 3 races in a week and whatnot. I want to know, like, the track conditions, the dirt's a lot different in Indy different than it was in Houston. Most normal years, you'd go there one night. If you miss your setup, you miss your setup. Now you have 2 more chances maybe to, readjust and reevaluate. Does that give you any more confidence, any help going in? And I know you're not going to really get any chance to practice this week. So how does that work out for you?
I mean, I don't know if I'm old school or what, but I just don't change that much stuff. I mean, yesterday we made some small clicker adjustments in Houston. I didn't change a single thing from the first lap I did until we left, I don't believe. And I feel like the better you know what you're riding, the better you can do. And the more you change that, the further away you get from what you know and what your brain has felt so much over the off season and over the, even every 20-minute main we do, you learn so much about your bike, not even like on a face value level, but like even deeper than that. And I just feel like every time you make big changes, it changes all that. So for me, I just don't change that much stuff. So that's not really one of the benefits for me to this type of racing or negatives really.
Okay. That's the Daniel Blair theory there. Get your bike 95% and leave it.
Yeah, I'm there with that.
Adam, I'll go to you, man. Talked about getting into the main without having to go through the LCQ and what a benefit that is. I want to know, when you spend a lot of time in the LCQ and sometimes, you get a bad start and it's really difficult to get in those top couple of spots. Does that work on your confidence? Because you have the ability to get into the main event. You're a main event guy. But when you have a bad night in LCQ, does that really weigh on your confidence level of the following race?
Absolutely it does. Not making the main is absolutely terrible. It's you go into it and you've worked your butt off. The team's worked their butt off. And I'm expected to kind of make the main week in and week out. And, and that's just from myself. And when you go and you don't make the main, it's been really frustrating lately because it's stupid little mistakes on my part. Like at Houston round 2, I was in 5th right out of the gate. And I made a block pass in like the 3rd corner and I couldn't hit the triple, and I doubled the triple. And I went to scrub the landing in the triple. And as you know, Houston had a lot of tacky grooves in it. And I doubled the triple. And when I went to get off the triple out, whatever you want to call it, off the landing, I hit a little rut and it sent me off the track. And that was the end of my night, and that was all my fault. And it weighs on you, obviously, I'm at a point in my career where I can take that energy and put it towards the next race. But there's something about getting that momentum and just kind of clicking them off and getting in there and, talking with my team manager, my crew chief. I'm not really, I haven't been in the past a guy that's making the main week in and week out. And that main event is definitely a different race. And I need to be in that thing as much as I possibly can, because the frustrating part is I feel like I have the fitness and a lot more speed than I ever have. But I'm not accustomed to racing that 20-lap main event as much as I want to be. So my goal for right now is just trying to keep clicking them off, get used to what I need to do in those 20-minute main events a little bit more and learning those. And by the end of the year, I want to be doing, pretty good in that main event and getting those positions that I believe that I should be in. And I think that's coming with just getting in there and experiencing that and, staying healthy. I think with everybody going so fast right now, I think it's going to be key to stay on two wheels and be there in the long run, because if I can make it to the end, I always turn it up at the end of the season too. So I'm looking to stay healthy and get some good finishes by the last round.
All right. Thanks. Great answer.
David Iser, I'm going to come to you next, but I got a quick one for Zach on behalf of the TV crew. In the points and the math, you're pretty far out of the lead because of the first 4 rounds, but obviously it's still early enough in the championship that you're not out of it. Is there any of the riders right now, Kenny or Eli or Cooper at the top, that you don't want to see them go on a run, or you're concerned that a run of a couple good races could make it that much, that harder to make up the ground? Obviously, I know you would like it to be mixed up as much as possible so you can get back into this thing, but has any of those 3 riders shown you enough to be maybe a little worried that they might go on a run and get too far ahead?
Well, I mean, it is a game of runs, right? So I think that it's hard to say that none of those guys are going to go on a run at some point, but I would just like to claw my way back into it a little bit closer than 28 after 4 rounds before it gets too far away, I just need to take it round by round and do as good as possible, obviously, but it's hard to say. The parity that we have going right now, 4 rounds, 4 winners, and I think there's 4 or 5 more winners in the field at some point this season. So anything can happen, and I think I'm only like 12 points out of 4th, which is a lot better. And considering kind of the way the first 4 rounds have gone for me, I feel pretty good about where I'm at. So I'm just going to keep plugging away and do my thing. I can't really worry about what those guys are doing, and just keep plugging away at it.
Got it. David Iser.
All right, thanks, Daniel. Zach, go back to you. First of all, when's the last time you got stuck in a gate? Last night.
I don't know. I don't know if I ever have, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, maybe when I was a little kid once or twice, but I don't actually remember it.
Okay, and unfortunately, there's a great race going out in front, so you didn't get much TV coverage last night. We always hear from racers that these tracks are one line and hard to pass. How did you make that time up? Where did you pass? How was the track so, come to you like that, being able to make those passes, especially when you got to the top 10?
Well, whenever I left the gate, I was like, well, now you just got to send it this first lap and see what happens, because, everybody's bunched up, and when they're bunched up like that, you can make a lot of passes. So I think in the first full lap, I passed 10 people. Obviously, I got a little lucky with that pile up with Mookie and Barsha and I think Marv. So that was 3 spots. So I would have maybe been 15th or whatever. But I didn't expect to get to 5th, and I definitely didn't expect to be, wheel to wheel for the podium. But I just knew as soon as I finally got my wheel out of the gate, I needed to just go for it.
All right, and when that happened, I mean, what was your thought process? I mean, obviously you had to get unstuck and get going. I mean, as a normal race, I mean, I can't imagine your heart rate was probably just, through the roof, and just probably trying to get your thoughts together even to get going.
Yeah, I mean, what do you say, right? Like, AC flinched, and I thought the gate flinched a little. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But then I flinched, and I rolled a little too far forward. And as soon as I rolled forward, the gate fell on it. Like I was already trying to pull it back before the gate fell on my wheel. So, yeah, just a goon move, I guess. I mean, it is what it is.
You're officially blaming AC. That's a good move. I like that.
No, not at all.
I'll let him know. I'll let him
Don't
know.
try to cross me out.
I'm going to tweet that right now. All right,
so you guys, media, get that out right now, right away. Zach says it was AC's fault. So let's get that going real quick.
All right. Joey Savacci, that was a great race, bounce back after Houston 2 and 3. Coming into this year, I wonder how much motivation using as redemption during silly season, maybe getting passed over or not, with your adversity the last 2 years. Do you use that as motivation this year? Maybe your redemption year to get back to where you think you need to be?
Well, first off, I guess technically it was AC's fault. He moved first. So
there we go.
It was his fault. But, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't really like the word redemption, mainly just because it's just I feel like there's a lot of hostility built up in that. And, I mean, for me, like, there was a time and a place in my career where I felt like I always had a chip on my shoulder and I just wanted to prove things to people out of spite. And I'm not really like that anymore. I think obviously getting older and learning and being through a lot of ups and downs, the motivation is just for myself. I want to do well, and regardless of who passes over me or who doesn't think I can do well, that doesn't really sway what I do during the week. My main goal is still to perform to the best of my ability and try to put myself in good spots. And, so people passing over me or maybe not getting the rides that I felt like I deserve. I mean, yeah, of course it sucks. It would be nice to have a guaranteed ride for multiple years and to be on the same bike for multiple years and to not start each year on a new bike that you've never been on. Of course that would be nice, but I mean, I could sit here and cry about it, but at the end of the day, like there's a lot of people that would kill to be in the position I'm in and to have a ride. So, at the end of the day, if I want more, as far as, like if I want people not to pass over me or whatever, then that's completely up to me. I need to perform better and I need to prove myself to be a front runner. And, the last night, like I said, was a step in the right direction for about 15 minutes or so. We ran top 5. So I think it was a step in the right direction, but as far as the motivation and everything, it's kind of just, I got a little one at home and I got a family and they got mouths that need to be fed. And, my motivation just comes from myself.
That's a great answer. Thanks, Joey. All right. Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks. Kellen Brower.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Kellen Brower, Racer X. I'm going to start it off with Zach. Indy tends to kind of break down and have some really loose soil to it. And last night it maybe looked a little bit better than normal, but it was a quite jumpy track. They had some, the big double, and the rhythm lane also pitched you guys really high in the air. How technically challenging was that with the dirt breaking down? And I mean, you came through a lot of guys. Was there some sketchy moments?
To me, it's drier than typical, but maybe a little more sketchy because the transitions are so soft and they have like these weird like pockets almost where the rut goes extra deep and then the face goes even, more steep after that. And it also has like this tiny little bit of a slick base, which I've never really seen here. The last time I raced here was in 2018 and it was like, it was like mush, we were like blowing through jumps and stuff. So it's strange, but and that double across the start was not small. Like the first time I jumped it, I was like, man. And then in the main, in a 450 main, it gets so broken down and there was like lines all the way across it. So it's just, it's strange, honestly. Maybe a little more sketchy than normal, like I said.
Got it. And then on to Joey, getting up front and kind of starting with that lead group. Now you've had a chance to kind of run that pace for, you said like 15 minutes there and then fell back a little bit, but where do you feel you're at with that pace and with your comfort level starting up front like that?
I feel like the speed, obviously I think Kenny and Eli were for sure the fastest guys that were up front off the start. Obviously, Zach came from a ways back. Marvin came from a ways back, and there were guys that were also fast, but the guys that started up front where I felt like my speed was pretty good. I think maybe had I been able to get around Ferrandis and stay in front of him, I might have had, I could have possibly gotten into a little bit of a rhythm, but him and I kind of went back and forth past each other a few times. Speed, like I said, felt okay, but it's been a while since I've been up there. So I was a little bit uncomfortable with that, with the pace and with the track being like it was, like Zach said, it was kind of sketchy. A lot of the rhythms was all about being patient, and it's hard to do that when you're in the middle of a battle. But I am glad that they took our advice and fixed the double-double before the main events, because I think if they didn't fix it, it would have not been good. But I mean, like I said, for me, I was pretty happy with how the day went. I think racecraft could be a little bit better. Obviously that'll come with more races being up front. And yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Alex Gobert.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, Alex Gobert, motoronline.com. I'll start with Zach. What was it like once you got, around the sort of top 5 mark? At one point it looked like you were going towards the podium. It wouldn't have been easy, but, how did the momentum shift once you got right up there in, around sort of those front guys?
Yeah, at one point I kind of looked, there was like 4 or 5 of us in a line there. I don't remember, Brayton, Prentice and Joey were at the front of it, and I was like, man, like maybe I could get in the top 5, which would be sick after, getting caught in the gate. And then I got to 5th, and then Coop was right in front of me, and I was really like kind of trying to set up a pass, and I Chisholm overjumped that middle, the big double, and ran into the back of Coop, and I was on the outside of him, and it caused just a little bit of separation. And then by the time I got back to Coop, he had already gotten AC, and then it just kind of messed the whole flow of what I was planning up. But I mean, all in all, I'm happy with the performance that I put in, and it's just something to build off of, better than a 10th or a 9th.
Yeah, what is the emotion like when you finish a race like that? Because on one point the result's quite good, but then there's obviously the disappointment of what happened at the beginning. So do you finish that? So is it like a sense of relief to salvage that result?
A massive sense of relief for me, actually, and just like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I've had some strange mistakes this year. Like I fell while running second at the second Houston. Should have been an easy podium for me, and I got a 10th. And then obviously the thing on press day at Houston 1 was just a nightmare. And so it's been strange. So to be able to have like a literally worst case scenario situation like that and be able to salvage a top 5 was a nice feeling.
All right, awesome. And over to Joey. In terms of, this is your 3rd different team in as many years. So how are you gelling with the team, 4 rounds in?
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. The bike's awesome. Really no complaints. Obviously we've had to tweak some things as we've gone. But, as far as how it was last night, the bike was awesome. The reason that I didn't do better was simply because I had poor line choices and poor execution in areas. But as far as the team and everything, I get along with everyone, and it's been really good. I have a teammate that I've gotten along with for a long time and known for a long time. And, having Burner on the team has been also a huge help. He's, I think, one of the biggest pluses on the team that I've noticed so far is just his knowledge and being at the track with me during the week. It's just been helpful all around to have another set of eyes out there that's been at this level and gets it and understands from the rider side as well as from the, team manager side. So, like I said, I get along with everybody, and the bike's been awesome.
In terms of the qualifying lap times, how important are they to ensure that you get a good sort of, gate selection for the heat? We all know how important that's been in history for the main events, but, right now it's really important, throughout the whole evening.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, as important as I feel like qualifying is for a gate pick, when I think I qualified, I think I was 10th in the second practice. I think I qualified 12th. And I think I was 8/10 or something off the fastest in the second practice. So, I mean, as important as it is, you know, you're only able to do so much, you know, and you look at it on paper and you're like, man, I was 8/10. If I could have just made up 3/10 that lap, it would have moved me all the way to 5th. Well, 3/10 is a lot for us, you know, like when everyone's that close, it's just a matter of trying to string together a perfect lap. And when the track is like it was, it's really hard to do that. So it's very important. I think the heat race is probably more important than qualifying is per se. I mean, the heat race is, I mean, the qualifying is important for a gate pick for the heat race, but, you know, regardless of where you qualify, you cut that in half and you have a decent gate pick, you know, like, so even in the heat race, I think eighth gate pick is still going to put you in a spot where you're going to be okay. But you get 8th in the heat race and you get 16th gate pick. Now you're looking at a big hole to try to dig yourself out of. So, yeah, qualifying is important, but I think honestly this year more than maybe ever, I think the heat race is probably the most important thing for the night, just to have a good heat race and put yourself in a position to at least have an opportunity to have a good gate and to set yourself up in the main event to be successful.
Awesome. Yeah, good to see you back. Finally, just for Adam, in qualifying, it looks like you've sort of been around half a second from your teammate, you know, which is pretty solid. So for a rider like you, when you're aiming to get into the main event, you know, for the night, you know, what's your yardstick, I suppose, you know, from practice qualifying into the night? Is that something you're looking at, how close you are to Brandon, or?
You know, definitely. I mean, I definitely gauge myself off of, like, you know, other riders in that 15th, you know, somewhere around that 15th position. And that's kind of like where Brandon happens to end up to be. But to be totally honest with you, like, I always try to get the best qualifying position I can. You know, like, obviously we're all going as fast as we can in practice to try to get that gate pick. You just got to focus on your race. You got to focus on what needs to be done, because I've had some of my best races when I've had my worst qualifying, you know. And if you look at Cooper Webb and some of those other guys, you know, they don't have the best qualifying times, but they can race. I think it's important to get a good qualifying time, and kind of, you know, it's obviously a boost of confidence if I'm a little bit closer to Brandon than I was last week, or a little bit closer to that 15th spot than I was last week. But you definitely can't lean on that completely for your result for the night. You kind of have to take time qualifying, kind of take that, throw it out of your head, and say, you know what, I'm a racer. I'm going to get this done in the heat race, and I'm going to do my job.
Just finally, is it mentally, I guess, when you do make the main, is it mentally challenging to reset and be like, all right, I'm in, and then sort of set your goals once again to finish as well as you can in the main? Because I think for guys like yourself, we're starting to, you know, you're consistently beginning to make it in there. But for some guys, it seems like it's just a matter of getting in, that's the result for the night. So what's the mindset there?
I mean, obviously, you know, I'm at a point where I'm trying to get better and better in the main event. And to me, it's kind of just checking boxes off, you know. So I'm starting off with kind of like pushing as hard as I can for that 10 minutes and then finding a flow after that. You know, you got to try to take baby steps and just get better and better and better. And for me, that's kind of like where I want to be. I want to try to latch on to somebody, get that 10 minutes in as good as I can, and then kind of let the rest of the race come to me, and then eventually move farther and farther forward. And it's nice because I'm starting to make more and more mains, so I can kind of improve on that. But what I've been trying to do lately is just grab onto those little wins, you know, literally racing Plessinger and battling back and forth with him, and, you know, being right behind those guys and just seeing that in front of me. It's nice to see that. It's nice to build confidence. And then to answer your question, going into that main, resetting is a lot easier when you make it out of the damn heat race. You're able to kind of relax. You're able to eat the food that you want to eat, kind of get all your emotions, your race plan ready to go, and then get on the track and do it. You know, when you're in the LCQ, you're like, your heart rate just went through the roof. You're like, oh my gosh, I just avoided, 6 trillion things that could have went wrong. And then all of a sudden you get back to the truck and they're like, okay, grab something to eat and go back down there and go race again. So making it out of the heat definitely improves my race strategy for the main event. So I'm definitely going to try to keep doing that.
Yeah, awesome. No, it's been good to see. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Dan Lamb, Moto X Addicts.
Yeah, I'll start with Joey. Joey, in the heat race, you had a little incident with Bam Bam at the end there. He had come from like way back, found you on like lap 4, and from his standpoint, I think he just lost his mind for a minute. What was your outlook on that attempted pass and crash by him?
Yeah, he came up to me after the heat race before the main event and talked to me. It was just poor judgment on his end. He thought he was closer than he was. I knew where he was, and I knew that as long as I continuously shut the door as I made it through the whoops, I was going to be fine. But I guess he thought he was closer than he was. But he came up to me before the main event and apologized, said it was his fault. So as far as that goes, it's just one of those things where it's a racing deal. There's not really much to say about it.
Yeah. And for Zach, what was it about this weekend? I mean, you've started in that spot mid-pack a few times and not been able to carve through. Was it how bad the track deteriorated that worked in your favor? You seem to do better on those kind of tracks.
Yeah, I think that's just more my style when it breaks down like that. It's just something I'm more comfortable on. And yeah, I think I was down in the first turn at the first race and I got 10th in a decent effort. But last night I felt more comfortable on the track. And I think other guys kind of feel less comfortable when it's like this, but this is more, like I said, my style. And we actually ride really ruddy stuff quite often. So it just kind of comes more natural to me.
Nice. And one last one for Adam. You seem to have 8 good laps in you. Is that from, your training program being, kind of formed around trying to make it to the main, and now maybe you need to start working on more long-term fitness, more full main event fitness?
Definitely. That's something that I've been working on heavy is just speed, and as you've seen, everybody's got speed now. And I've had to inch closer and closer and closer, and I've gotten a lot closer. But the main goal for me this year was definitely getting the speed to make it to the main event. Absolutely, I've been doing 20s on 20s on 20s, but there's nothing like going to the race and doing a 20-minute moto with those guys. There's nothing like being in the main event and racing that main event. There's just nothing that can really replicate it. I mean, I've done some really good motos with Max and with Brandon, 20-minute motos, but when you have all 20 guys and it's on for the entire 20 minutes and, sometimes it's hard to find that flow. So yeah, I would definitely say my training program catered towards making that main event. That's one of the main goals is getting there to get the experience. I did a lot of sprint laps. And like you said, I've done a lot of those just 10-minute hard intervals to get to the main event. But I think I'm going to let it come a little bit more as far as, training for the main event. I'm always trying to do it, but I need to make sure that I'm making the main event. The focus is still sprinting in that heat race and getting it done, and then going to the main event and kind of checking off that 10-minute box, getting to 12 minutes, getting to 15 minutes, and then so on and so forth. I want to make sure that I'm in that main event and I can show that speed week in and week out. So making it out of the heat race and doing those 8-minute motos is still going to be the main focus right now.
Right on. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Nick, Moto Limited.
So this will be for the 3 guys. We've got to see the 2 structures so far. So the Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and the Saturday to Sunday, the Saturday to Saturday. What structure do you guys like most and why?
I guess I'll take it first. I honestly like the 3 days in a row because you're just kind of back to back to back, and you don't even the riding during the week, it's almost just enough time to recover, and then it's just enough time to get back to the track and do it again. I love riding a lot. That's kind of like, I mean, I think that everybody knows that about me. I love riding my dirt bike and I love racing, and I love not having to wait a whole entire week to get back to the races, dude. I freaking love racing. I think it's sick. And it's sweet that we get to go Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. I like the Saturday, Tuesday better than I like the Tuesday to Saturday. If we did, you know, Saturday, Tuesday, Friday, I think it'd be even better. But it's cool that we get to race 3 times a week, and it's cool that we get 3 shots to kind of, you know, be in that mindset to be like, oh, I know what I did wrong at this one, and if I can just avoid that at this round and it's all fresh in your brain, I can do better at that next round. So that's why I like the Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. I mean, Saturday to Saturday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. I guess, truthfully, to me, it doesn't matter either way. I mean, we have one chance to execute, whether it be 3 times in a week or once a week. It kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of either way on it. For me personally, I don't have a preference on one way or the other.
I really like the Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday thing, just because, like, for me, it's a lot less riding during the week and a lot less riding for nothing, I guess you would say. Not for nothing, but not for points, you know. I think that I would be willing to do, I don't know, 25 races a year Supercross if we could do this, you know, if we could do them all like this, you know, do 6 or 8 rounds of this in a row, or 6 rounds of this in a row, have a couple weeks off, and then do 3 or 4 more. I think it would be a really good system.
Absolutely. And secondly, Joey, what's the chances we get to see you in Melbourne at an AusX Open again?
I mean, I guess that depends on how normal things go after or whenever this whole COVID thing kind of, not that it's ever going to brush over, but
No.
I mean, I don't know. I would love to go back. I love it down there. You know, I had a blast in New Zealand. I had a blast in Australia. I honestly had a blast doing all of those overseas races. Obviously, getting hurt was never the plan. But, I mean, if I have the opportunity to, of course, I would love to. Every time I've been down there, you know, Australians treat me very well, and I enjoy the country. It's beautiful.
Yeah, because you won a couple of Australian junior titles. Is that right?
Yeah. I won I don't remember the years, but I won 4. I won the 2 the first year and 2 the second year, and then started the Australian Supercross series. I think it was the under-19s. I can't remember, but got second at the first round in a complete mud fest, and then had a practice crash during the week, which could have been avoided, but at the time was young and dumb and felt like I needed to ride, and got hurt. So I've been down there multiple times, and like I said, every time I've been down there, they've been awesome, and you know, the country is beautiful, and people are super, super cool. So if the opportunity arises, I'd love to go back. Absolutely.
Sweet, cool. Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks. Run a little deep on time here, so we got 3 more questions, 1 each. Revista Moto, then Johnny, and then Weed. She'll close it out. 1 question each, guys.
Thank you, Daniel. Zach, can you talk a little bit about your transition from a championship in motocross to Supercross? Is there a physical and mental challenge to get ready for Supercross after that motocross run?
No, not really. I had like 6 weeks kind of mostly off, and then I like a 6 or 7 week training camp. I think a lot more than that, or much more than that, is a little too much, and I feel like I kind of plane out a little bit. So it was kind of a really good setup for me, and I feel prepared and ready to rip.
Great, thank you.
Johnny?
Good evening, guys. Jani Hovi, X-Racing Finland. Hey, Zacko, riding Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. Obviously, you guys don't get to ride properly during the week, at least this week. What kind of training do you do?
Well, I mean, it's snowing outside right now, so it's pretty much limited to the spin bike, and I have workout equipment in my motorhome to be able to do the gym training and stuff that I need to do. But it's pretty limited, but also the recovery time's short. So there's not really any time for like major intensity, or anything like that. So it's just kind of maintenance stuff.
Any backup plans for you coming to Indianapolis if the first race didn't go as planned? Did you have any backup plans to go back home riding or anything like that?
No, I may try to go ride on Thursday somewhere, depending on the weather, but I don't know. It's not really for testing purposes, just more for staying loose and having a little bit of fun, really.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel.
No problem. Weege, bring it home.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Jason from Racer X. Zach, you won that motocross title and you won the last round in Salt Lake City last year. So just by default, it was like, well, Zach's taken another step and he could contend for this title. Did you feel that way? Where's your confidence coming in? You've shown good speed. You were even running down Eli at one point. You were matching Cooper last night. Is that confidence for you, or did you expect to be at that level this year, or did you need to prove it to yourself first?
I needed to prove it to myself a little bit, and still kind of do. I mean, I've only gotten a fifth at this point. You know, I really bummed about, mostly the biggest bummer for my whole season is blowing the podium at Houston 2, you know, and even a chance at possibly winning, unlikely, but possibly. So for me, you know, I did have a lot of momentum, I guess you would say, but it's kind of turning a completely different deal to come here and win races again. So a little bit of both. I mean, I was confident, and I also needed to prove it to myself. I think the biggest thing for me this year is my speed. Like, I've never had daytime speed like I have right now, and speed to just kind of overtake people when and where I feel like it. So I'm happy with that. I think, I mean, coming into the season, I wouldn't have said that I was any faster than any season before, or I didn't have any indicators like, wow, like, you know, I'm going to be top 5 in qualifying every weekend. Whereas like sometimes last year, and even in Salt Lake, I was like 11th or 14th or 12th, you know? So I'm really happy with where I'm at. I just need to improve the end result a little bit.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Weege. Thank you guys for coming on today for this 450 roundtable. Stay warm, and we'll see you in a couple days. Thanks.